In international entertainment news, BBC executives are facing a public outcry following the controversial casting of Jeremy Irons as Doctor Who for the upcoming post-corona series. When reached for comment, showrunner Chris Chibnall indicated, "We heard those blokes from Disinformed thought it was brilliant. Blame them if you don't like it." Well, if you wanted honesty, you've come to the wrong place. This is the Disinformed Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm John.
And I'm Michael.
And we welcome you back to another illustrious edition where we will do nothing but impugn the state.
You know what's really funny is that I've been paying attention to our YouTube views for last week more than anything, just because I'm kind of like
you're waiting for a
getting
comment?
ready for a fight, yeah. Before Shane does his due diligence. Yes,
you're sounding like me tonight.
Yeah,
God bless you.
Shrink. Yeah,
Easy for you to say.
Which I appreciate Shane doing. And nothing. We haven't had anybody come hit us yet, so I think that's great. However, I did have our sweet baby Dewan text me with no context and ask, "How do you clean cum off a face mask?" Which I don't have an answer, but I can tell you how I clean my face mask, Dewan. I fill up a sink with warm water because most of them are delicates. You don't want to run them through the washer dryer; you might fuck the whole thing up.
Fair.
And then we have wool light that's for sensitive clothing, and you just you speak to your clothing very gently while you massage that wool light into the fabric, and then you rinse it, and then it's done.
So I get a little club soda, I put it in my mouth, and then I spit it through and suck it back through the fabric about 12 times. And I find that one, it gives me a tasty, refreshing beverage, and two, it's gotten most of the stains and the proteins out of the fabric.
Well, you have Melissa on the other end, so you're baby bird filtering it through to Melissa, and she's filtering it back to you. So it's like twice refined ginger ale at that point.
No, I'm cum greedy and she's gaggy. So I mean, I'm just gonna eat it all myself. I don't like to share.
Oh goodness.
Michael,
do you believe in life after show?
So my face gaiters, they're machine washable, so I just wash those. And then the masks that I actually have that I wear when I go grocery shopping,
never washed.
They need to be washed. No, I washed them a month ago, but they definitely need to be washed. I can smell. They just smell.
I mean, that makes sense. I see
Hashtag
you.
wash
I've
your
seen
mask.
you IRL, as the children would say. I can confirm. You got a little bit of a pizza grease to you.
Oh, I don't wear those masks in the pizza shop. I wear the face gaiter there.
Speaking of guests, that Dwan was the only guest we've actually had on the proper podcast. This is the end of an era for me. This will be the last episode with the old equipment, and we've been mentioning it throughout the last few months and weeks of, this will be so nice when I have better equipment to not just podcast, but, do music stuff. My brain got wrinkled a little bit because I realized I'll still have, it's not like I'm getting rid of the equipment I have currently. I'm going to be getting a new mic as well. I could have a socially distanced guest on my end here in the future. Kind of take some of the guesswork out, because then I know exactly how to get the files over to our lovely editor.
And you also have yourself an instrument mic as well as a vocal mic that you can run in tandem, 2-track.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because I'm doing the two in, two out interface, so it'll be nice.
So
just like your sex life.
2 in, 2 out, baby.
So Michael, tell us about your day, because I hear you had a dilly.
So, today was the first day I actually was supposed to have my lab classes in person. And so what that means is up to 8 of the 24 students can come in and use the computers that are in the lab room and still run simulations. Everything's still online, but you can do it in person. So if you have trouble, you can ask me to help you in person as opposed to helping through Zoom. So I had forgotten to, apparently I was tasked with sending out invites and making sure that my students knew that they had to show up. So I already knew that I wasn't going to have any people, but I'm like, I can still get a feel for the room, see how everything sounds, because I showed up last week and with all my other TAs to have a meeting. And anytime someone spoke or unmuted their mics, we had significant feedback, and it made my ears bleed. So I was like, I'm going to try and figure this out on my own. So I get there a little bit late because I'm like, I'll get some coffee on the way,
Smart.
Might as well. Yes. So I get there 2 minutes before my lab starts at 8 a.m. Okay. Go up to the door. I'm like, all right, let's do this. Door's locked. Okay. All right, fine. This has happened to me before in real life in previous, semesters. So I'm like, I'll go to the physics office. I'm going to start my Zoom session, so my lab, through my phone. And so I'm walking there. I got the camera on. You can see my face gator. I'm already sweaty because I've been walking for 30 minutes. Hey guys, something happened. Door's locked. I'm going to go to the office and get someone to unlock the door for me. Cool. So I walk there. Lo and behold, the office is locked and no one's there. So it's like, oh, I literally said this to my students. I'm like, oh, this is great. Okay. So I'm going to figure this out. So I'm walking around. I even tried to see if any of the other offices were locked. There was a person doing another lab, but I didn't want to interrupt them. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and put students into breakout rooms, which is essentially I put them into groups in different rooms. It's a feature that Zoom has.
Yes.
So I place my stuff down outside and I try and do that. You can't do that on mobile phones. All right, this is getting better and better. All right. There's a library next to where I need to go. I walk to that. It's locked. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. It said it should be open, whatever. So I'm still online with everyone. I'm like, all right, I'll walk to the computing commons, which has computers. I'll try and figure it out there. Okay. So at this point, I had another student saying oh, well, I'm in this other library. You can meet me there. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit next to a student and try and have this.
This is sounding like a Christopher Nolan plot. That's how intricate this is starting to get woven.
Furthermore,
right?
Has no one told you that you need to have your ID with you to badge into these places?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Michael.
Okay. All right. Because
Oh,
all of the libraries right now, with the exception of one, which I'm not publicizing, are all card entry only.
oh, cool. All right. So then I walk to this area. This place is open. Doors unlocked. So I sit down. I'm the only person in here aside from the people working at the desk. And so it's all quiet. And I'm like, I can't speak too loud because then I feel like I'm screaming in a library. So then I finally, after 20, 30 minutes, I finally get them into their groups after I try and answer their questions just by remembering the simulation that I ran a couple days prior. Because the day before, I'm like, I don't need to do much prep. I'll just wing it. Because that's usually how it goes. So then I finally get it set up, and then I go to each room, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back home. And I live about 40 minutes away from the school. So I'm like, all right, do you have any questions before I leave? Okay, if you need to contact me, my phone will be in the main room, so you can leave your breakout room, go to the main room. I said that to all my students, and they're like, oh, yeah, sure. So then I haul ass to get back home. I told my girlfriend because she's also working from home, and her daughter also
is working from home? What does she do for a living?
Home.
Yeah.
School. Duh.
What do you do for the money, honey?
Yeah, you got to get an education these times because they're so useful. Liberal arts degree, basket weaving. Anyway, so I haul ass to get home. I still have my phone on, so if anyone asks me a question while I'm driving on a freeway, I'm like, oh, yeah, you just do this. So I finally get home and I get that all set up. But this all happened in the span of about 2 hours. And it was early in the morning. And it just set the whole day, so I was just stressed all fucking day. So I'm really glad I got my script for today's episode done yesterday. But that was this morning, and it's just been stressful dealing with students and stuff since. So
well, we might have to decommission some of this, but yeah, this is the perks of working at a college where they do not allow you to post any signage which has a negative connotation or has a word that will imply that you are restricting people. So we have had to fight. I finally received a communique from the dean of the provost of my campus saying, we have students complaining that they can't get into your building and it's locked, but you have signs posted saying that you're open and the hours are available. It's yeah, you have to badge in like most everywhere now because all buildings are facilities buildings. When I've gone over to pick up keys and things are also locked. They have everything essentially in a lockdown mode. So you have to badge in with your card any place that you need to be. And so I finally was able to get a sign that indicates that you need to badge into the branch in order to access it. And it's been very entertaining time. So I can understand and relate to your vexation, because there's a lot of it happening presently.
Boy, howdy. So,
yeah.
That's
just too much fun.
I wanted to say that on air because that was... So if I fall asleep mid-sentence or something like that, it's just because I'm so exhausted. Okay?
I thought it's because you were listening to your own presentation.
No, I've practiced enough so that I've developed an immunity to my own drowsing effect. That's why I can still talk to people and not fall asleep in a sentence.
Yeah, I started watching What We Do in the Shadows in the TV show, the Hulu or FX version. And the psychic vampire definitely reminded me a lot of you, buddy. Yeah. Just kidding.
I was going to say, did someone get some psychic vampire repellent?
I was going to say, Gwyneth Paltrow can help you out with that. Mm-hmm. There is, it's fairly reasonably priced as well, if you want to get a little goop on you.
It's only like $40, $50.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important for you to be able to go through your day without having your aura siphoned.
So true that.
My story on what happened last night has a little bit of a preamble, and that is sometimes there's a man. No, I am what Becky taught me a new phrase affectionately. I am fun employed. I'm making some changes to the old life, and in doing so, I have some downtime, and it's all nice and positive stuff right now. But it's been a vacation vibe. And
nice.
I've been on a scale of like 1 to 2015 Sam. I'm about like half, which is a decent amount. Never slurred my words.
Which is Johnny Depp level.
Yeah. Anyway, so
because this is like the 10,000, 1,000. So like Vikings, you're sailing to the New World. Leif Erikson.
Yeah,
sorry.
Whatever, nerd.
History jokes don't work here. I'm sorry. I forgot.
No, wrong podcast. That's the one that you were going to start before, and then we talked you out of it.
That was the one he actually did fall asleep while he was recording it and didn't notice halfway through.
Yeah, for sure.
That was one time.
We're preparing your funeral.
One recording.
People don't forget.
The funeral pyre is about to be lit. If you, give me another moment, I'll get my arrow lit and we'll be ready to go.
Oof. Wait, so you shoot the arrow for your own pyre?
I'm gonna shoot it for yours, guaranteed.
You beat me there. So last night, we had a couple friends over, like a friend couple. They came over and they taught me how to make fried chicken, which sounds like you should know how to do it, but I'm new to eating chicken again, and it was a really, really nice evening. We were socially distanced, shut the fuck up, it was fine.
And then you elected to swing?
I mean,
from an actual swing.
Her husband
sex swing.
Her husband is a looker, and I
agreed.
Looked. However,
but you didn't touch because socially distance.
Exactly. I spit from 6 feet away into his mouth, and he did the same to me.
You can look, but don't touch.
Kevin,
come on, Kevin.
Anyway, so I think Becky fell asleep on the couch and went to bed like 10. We stayed up for another couple hours, just drinking. And I think around midnight they left, and I'm decompressing. I'm watching Venture Brothers on the couch. I have my headphones on, and I see out of the corner of my eye, I see what looks like a fast scuttle from something underneath my entertainment center to underneath my sofa, like the opposite end of my sofa. And as anyone who's seen Alien enough times would do, I freaked the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not okay. Like, especially because it's late enough and you've been drinking enough that you're like, I could have imagined that, but I'm confident in myself that I'm not like hallucinating shit or whatever. I'm not tired,
Yeah.
Anyway,
I didn't drink any moonshine.
So I get the dogs, my 3 dogs, and I get them on the opposite side of the dog gate, so they're not in the living room. And I proceed to, like a crack fiend looking for copper to steal to sell. I am moving all of my furniture, trying to find this unidentified scuttling object, and I'm seeing nothing. Meanwhile, Frank, the one who eats his own shit, is
the one that you can hear barking on occasion as well.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast multiple times.
He's the Danny DeVito of the dog trio living in your home.
That is very, very true. He just wants to be pure.
Yeah.
One would say him eating shit is upcycling. He is at the gate. And right next, like, if you enter our house and you go through the dog gate, to the right is their dog bed. And right where the dog bed ends is where our bar that Logan built us as a wedding gift is. And Frank is looking dead set at the crevice where the dog bed and the bar meet. And he's whining. And he's a hunter. Like, he's a piece of shit. But he might be the smartest dog in the house because he wants to kill and he wants to eat. That's the only things he really cares about. And if he still had the ability to, I would say he'd probably be a fuck machine. So I get him by the collar and I'm like, you know what? No one is around. No one's awake. And I'm just drunk enough. I'm going to try and let you be a bloodhound tonight. Like, I need you to find whatever the fuck is going on because it's either that you're going to find something quicker than I will, or I'm losing my goddamn mind. I'll have a panic attack and I'll go try and find a therapist tomorrow and we'll kind of work from there. So I get him by the collar and he just beelines it right for that crevice. And he's whining and he's not being too loud, but it's definitely like he's haunched up. You know, he is ready. He's ready to attack. And I'm still not seeing anything. So I put him back on the other side of the gate. And then I go and I put my flashlight to the crevice again. And I nearly jumped out of my own skin. And there's a fucking mouse staring right at me. I have never seen a mouse in, like, when I was a kid in Michigan, we'd find them all the time in our garage and whatnot or around the house. But in the entire time I've lived in Arizona, I have found other things that will kill you or that are venomous and like just super problematic. And I've had them here in this house, but a mouse. So I turned to like try and find something like, all right, let's see if I can catch this fucking thing. And when I came back, it was gone. And at this point, it's like 2:30. And I am losing my mind. So I have ordered non-lethal traps. They're arriving tomorrow. And I'm going to try and get that little fucker out of here. I've named him Wilbur. But that was the manic, like, I'm glad that I don't have, like, Nest cameras. But also kind of sad, because I bet if I could have watched that footage, it would have been endlessly entertaining. To see a grown-ass man nearing his 30s almost having a mental breakdown over trying to find a mouse in his living room.
Shoot, you could have put that on our podcast YouTube. That would have been great.
But being fun employed, there's a moment from the book It hasn't been represented in either the miniseries, to my knowledge, or the film, the two-parter. I felt like Ben Hanscom. And in the context that in the beginning of the book, they're all getting the calls that it's time to return to Derry because, you know, the monster's returned. And all of them have this moment of almost like near invincibility where they can just drink and drink and drink and drink and nothing hurts them. Like, I will never forget that scene in the book where he's sitting in the bar and his bartender that has been his friend, that, you know, in the context of the bartender to a patron for years. He's like, I think this guy's gonna fucking die tonight. Yeah, that's how I felt last night.
You were squeezing lemon wedges into your nose and snorting it in order to cope with the amount of alcohol you were going to consume.
Yeah. By 3 a.m., I was like, I'm just going to take my Kindle up into the bedroom with the dogs, and if I fall asleep, good. If not, like, I just can't stay down there because I'll just keep thinking about where this goddamn mouse is, and I'll just keep drinking, and it'll be 6:30, and Becky will walk out of the room, and I'll be crawling on the floor, slobbering.
I'll get you, my pretty.
You'll be like Hunter Thompson with a knife between your teeth, just looking at things like, I swear to God, it's here.
Yeah.
Fucking creatures are crawling out of everything. Like, Becky, we got to get it. Hold on. Give me 5 seconds. Also, I haven't slept in 48 hours.
Yeah, basically. Also, real quick, because I was checking more of our info stuff, under the dashboard for our podcast. We missed 2 people, or two places to acknowledge and say hi to. Again, another handful.
Nicaragua,
Austria, and Canada. So thank you guys. If it was a one-time thing, you'll never know.
I think.
Yeah, it's all Ontario. So.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that the Fuhrer has called me down out of my Alps in Austria today is that I do have it occur to me.
What? I know that it's from Inglourious Bastards. Are you talking about Under the Floorboards? Like from the...
Well, I mean, if a mouse were to enter your home right now, John,
There
would
we
you
go.
meet
Okay,
it with hostility?
I just had to have you connect it for me.
Would you meet it with a saucer of your delicious IPA that you've just poured out?
I did have a quick moral debate of like, because I saw the fucking thing and I was like, aw, it's cute, but also, get the fuck out of my house. And Becky and I lined up without even meaning to, because I told her that I'd ordered non-lethal trap. She goes, oh, that's good. I don't really think I could, like, I think it would just be really sad to see, like, a decapitated mouse in first thing in the morning. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought, too. I would rather, just have it have a very uncomfortable evening and then let it out into the front yard where all the cats are on prowl.
This is how I know that you and I are on opposite but almost the same side of the spectrum. As you've managed to complete the circuit and I'm right on the end of it, is that I can't wait to see something dead right now. I'm desperately waiting for something to die in my close proximity or for me to help it along the way. But the scuttling thing is for reals, and since we're talking about the alien thing, I'll have a quick story. I was in a laundry room when I was living in Anthem, and I was getting a shirt out of the dryer, and as I was pulling the shirt up, I was looking at the ceiling, and from the grate in the ceiling comes a scorpion.
Fuck that forever. Burn that fucking thing down.
It is immense. Like, it's a mammoth scorpion, and it is hanging from its stinger from the air vent like a face hugger. And I had a half second where I was like, this is it. The fucking face hugger's coming. It's got me. Like, I'm gonna, the xenomorph invasion has begun. And then it fell onto the dryer in front of me.
Oh my God.
And I was at least able to get it before it started to run off of the dryer. And I slammed the shirt with my hands in it down on top of it and killed it. But yeah, I had a flash second where I was just like, okay, this is it. This is the scene where everyone else is walking around with the little light tubes and Ian Holmes in the corner and the one just falls on top of me. It was a Sigourney segue for me. Yeah. I had my one moment where I was Sigourney.
Indeed. Like, stern point of fact. So I've heard people talk about like how like trauma comes in all different shapes and sizes and things like that. And I'm glad that you had a story about a large-ass scorpion, because at first, because of all the problems that we've had in our home with scorpions, I thought that it was just the world's largest fucking scorpion that had scuttled. And I was like, no fucking way. I'm not doing this. I will burn the house down, and I'll admit that I did it. I'll go to jail rather than deal with this.
Well, Michael and his science background might have a moment here, and since we're talking about poisonous things that terrify us, Mr. Michael, are you familiar with the huntsman spider of Australia?
I'm familiar with I think it's the camel spider in the Middle East.
Okay,
that's a massive thing.
Yeah, so the huntsman is essentially the largest spider on the planet that I can think of. I'm not going to be factually accurate here, but of course our researcher is going to dive in. But it's essentially the size of your hand. Is how, enormous this thing is. So my brother is down in Australia, and he was doing
Holy shit! Sorry, I just looked it up.
There you are. So anyone who wants to Google image search these things, you're going to horrify yourself. So my brother's in Australia, and he has gone to the restroom in, late in the evening, and he's going back to bed. Well, my brother wears glasses. He is visually impaired, not, to an extreme degree, but he requires glasses. And so he looks over, and on the wall, he sees this weird spot, and it's pretty big. And he's like, oh, what is that? So he goes over, and he puts his face right up against it to bring it into focus, into a stark relief against the wall. And then he sees one of the legs lift up near his nose and officially just absolutely lost his mind. Apparently, he tried to beat it to death with a Doc Marten, and the thing was still moving.
I believe it.
It's like the Terminator of all, spiders, and the arachnid invasion began. So I sympathize, but I think my brother had it worse than I did.
I believe the Zoomers call that not safe for life.
Indeed.
True that.
And speaking of not safe for life, we have learned nothing in this week beyond the fact that recording this podcast and dedicating certain opinions or thoughts or moments to record will have a ramification. We cannot do this with impunity. So
we've said this for years, Shane.
I woke up on Tuesday morning, so yesterday, and it might have even been Monday morning. It's not important to the context of the story, but I had a Facebook message from an individual who said, "So, just made it up to episode 39." And I'm both like super cringy and kind of proud of myself. And
oh yes, it's exactly what I thought it was.
It was exactly what you thought it was. So the individual who wrote me that love letter while we were in high school heard the episode where we were talking about her and her efforts, and so she finally, I did not plug the podcast. I did not force her in its direction. It happened organically, and she found it. And so we had a very interesting exchange, and apparently it helped to embolden her spirit because she's going through some interesting stuff in her work right now. And so there's a shout out to Teresa. If you make it this far, she might have just warded herself off of listening. But, bless you and thank you for taking that
so
in such good stride.
Teresa,
it was entertaining.
You're the best.
Beautiful.
Also, well, one, I don't want to beat that to death too much, but I had done a little bit of re-listen when I was putting together a best of little playlist, and I think I'm almost done with it, and I'll send it to you guys afterward or at some point. But
yeah,
that was probably one of the most wholesome moments on the history of our show. So to have a little bow put onto that moment, and it also not just be a colossal piece of shit bow, but an actual a satisfying conclusion. That makes my whole week, to be honest with you. That's really, really, really awesome.
I was immensely amused by it as well.
Also, I cannot access my phone right now because it's what I'm using to do our Zoom sessions for the final fucking time. Can one of you pull up our Instagram, because constant listener Steven sent us something. I think it's probably worthwhile just to read the message that he sent before we get into part 2. Okay, so Steven, he messaged us and he said, "Hi guys, your QAnon episode reminded me of something I learned just the other day about how the whole QAnon conspiracy is basically a rehashing of the satanic panic of the 80s, and both of which can be tied to a backlash against progressive social movements. In the 80s, it was women more engaged in the workplace and gaining reproductive rights, and currently it is a backlash against gay/trans rights. Since Michael is doing a 2-part at some point, I thought I'd send this his way." And it's an article which I guess Michael has never read because he doesn't care about promoting the show. But It's an article, essentially, the title is, "Why Are Right-Wing Conspiracies So Obsessed with Pedophilia?" Steven also wanted to mention, and this is to you, Michael, that there is a godlike Star Trek character named Q, but he's unrelated to the conspiracy as far as he's aware.
Yes, I actually looked it up when I was editing last week's episode. He is Q. It is in the Next Generation with Picard and everything.
And I responded to Steven in person by saying, yes, I am aware that was also a Star Trek character, but I'm not going to, 1, dignify Michael for knowing something, and 2, identify that show as something that I have had any contact with.
Well, it's because you like good
and then also it wasn't part
stuff.
of the conversation as well. I just pointed that out, and you're like, shut the fuck up. So.
But Steven, thank you.
I was pointing out the James Bondage of it all. But yes, thank you, Steven. As usual.
Yeah, very much.
So that actually is something interesting. So, Steven, if you actually are looking up that stuff, I would recommend, because I've mentioned this podcast before, this is actually just to Steven because I don't social media. There's a podcast I've mentioned called Behind the Bastards. The show host, Robert Evans, covers a lot of not just Q, but more of the alt-right movement. He's a reporter in Portland, and he actually is kind of the person that motivated me to do that episode on Chaz a couple months ago. But he does a lot of covering. He actually interviewed the founder, and this will kind of tie in to this episode, so I'll actually mention that in a minute there. But there's actually, there are a lot of parallels between the satanic scare of the 80s and then the QAnon movement here. And the actual movement from, because a lot of reactionary people would talk about the women are being threatened. No, this is actually kind of important to think about, because a lot of people like the KKK and everything would always talk about white women being threatened by these minorities. But since women started becoming a lot more autonomous, started getting, out there, and it was harder to be like, well, you got to think about the women, but they're now independent. So they started moving over to pedophilia, because children can't really be independent. So it's easier to focus on that instead of, well, think about the white women.
Yes, you have to have some justification, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to be on to go with that, Stephen. Yeah, I did know a lot about that, and that's actually because of the podcast that I just mentioned, Behind the Bastards.
We also want to recommend for anybody who is interested, if you are presently enduring an alt-right movement, kaopectate, Pepto-Bismol, they'll stop that right up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That acid reflex.
Also, just reading a honest to God article. Just researching a point in general will probably cure you of that disease. So.
Yeah, information tends to help that immensely.
Yeah.
And also, funnily enough, for just the two of you, Stephen also included, while he was in traffic that day, coming into work, he got behind a truck whose license plate reads, I am Q. Or it was actually, I think it was I am QAnon. So we know who it is now. It's been identified out in the wild.
It's some random guy, probably with chuck nuts in Phoenix.
It was a raised truck, strangely enough. You never would have expected.
Who would have thought?
So, for those who are uninitiated and who didn't catch part 1 of this episode, and I pity you, because heaven help you if you've gotten this far in, what we typically do here is we will delve into an esoteric or obscure topic and submit it for your approval or disapproval, depending upon what YouTube thread you're commenting on. And essentially, in the midst of explaining it to one another, we will leaven in the occasional lie just to keep things interesting. And it is then incumbent upon the co-hosts to then ferret out the fact from fiction and scream at it and, throw sharp objects and hope that it runs...
Interloper!
Occasionally it might run behind the bar and we got a sick Frank on it. But, it's where we're at right now.
That's finished!
So, this week we are going to be doing our follow-up, in that last week we had part 1 of Mike's deep dive into QAnon and starting with Pizzagate, and now we're moving on to the hard stuff.
Which, if you guys can believe, has nothing to do with actual pizza. I didn't really know that.
Well, it had to do with cheese pizza, but that's more just a code word, so...
I would rather have a big sausage pizza.
You and me both.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you haven't fucked me well enough to hit me that hard.
I feel like there's some joke to the government in there somewhere.
Indeed.
Ooh, hot take. So I will start off by saying there are 3 lies. And then also, before we start, because I figured this out while I was editing, John, you asked what the QAnon conspiracy viewed of Epstein's death last year, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That he killed himself or was murdered. Well, QAnon believes the third option, that Epstein actually faked his own death instead of committing suicide or was murdered. Epstein was too important to lose. He had so much information on the sexual deviances of so many of the cabal elites, but not Trump, never that guy. Sounds like a cool person, though. Believe me, I know cool guys. So Trump faked Epstein's death with a body double, it looks like.
Right.
Okay. And took him off to Gitmo, or Guantanamo Bay. I'm going to butcher it because I can never get that.
Guantanamo Bay.
Yes. To protect him from being killed for real. At least that's what I think they're saying.
Okay.
It's really hard to understand what they're actually saying. I don't know if, he was part of the cabal that they captured and they're going to get the information, or if he was also working secretly for Trump and then he got...
Oh, he's a double agent. Good. That makes this no more convoluted than it was already.
Yeah, I'm a secret double agent there, fuckface.
Yeah, so... Okay. Now that we set the stage with Pizzagate and then a little bit more information with Epstein, I think it's time we do a brief intro on the man, the myth, but certainly not the legend, Q themselves. So I will be trying to reference to Q as gender neutral, just because like I don't want to assume that they're male.
It's important
They could also
do.
be. Yes, they could also be multiple people. And I also think that it's just kind of funny to go with that kind of approach, because a lot of people that believe in Q wouldn't. So I feel like it's almost like a subtle jab.
So it's
But anyway.
LGBTQAnon.
Oof.
Bruh.
I like it, though.
You're welcome.
So, a person identifying as Q Clearance Patriot first appeared on the poll board of 4chan on October 28th, 2017. Now, it's actually called /poll. So it's a /POL /. It's the image board forum. So image board is essentially, it's like a forum. So since we're old enough, you remember forums and like chat forums and everything from back in the day.
Hardly knew 'em.
An image board is a forum, but it's mainly communicating through pictures. So instead of using text to respond, it's with pictures. That's the whole difference between a normal forum and an image board. Okay. Now, /poll is short for politically incorrect, which comes with all the baggage that you'd expect from calling something politically incorrect.
Was it?
Yes.
Was it bullshit the name was QAnon clearance?
No.
Okay.
It was Q Clearance Patriot.
No, there we go. Sorry. Yeah, just because
Yes,
I remember
yes.
you fucked us over with clearance level stuff last week. So
No, it is Q Clearance. Q Clearance is a real thing, but it's tied with
Energy.
the Department of Energy
Yes.
for some reason, yes. So it was expected, so /poll was expected to be the place where people with more fringe beliefs could go and not get banned like they would on other image boards on 4chan.
is it kind of like r/the Donald got fucked over because it was just a group of just hateful, bigoted dick noses?
Yes. So politically incorrect, kind of like, all right. So a little bit of history. Like I said last week, I was on 4chan for a time because I was edgy. I was on 4chan when the owner of the website, he's called on there Moot. He's Christopher something or other. I can't remember his actual name, and I didn't write it down. He introduced that image board. It was supposed to be the kind of place where people could go to talk about politics, without fearing like getting banned. So it was supposed to be the more free speech aspect. But it quickly turned into a place where racists and other fringe people could make really bad memes. I can only recall one time when I was like, let's go on there and do that. Let's see what they're doing, right? And the first 2 or 3 posts were really racist pictures of African Americans, so I just noped on out of there. I'm like, nah.
I'm basically done with the fucking internet anyway at this point, you know?
I was gonna say the whole idea here that these folks want some form of acceptance or kinship to share in their, vampant hatred, just it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like the Marx Brothers joke of, I don't want to be a part of any group that would have me as a member.
Right.
Most of these individuals should just take the fact that they're isolated nuts and just keep to themselves and stop trying to get it all over everybody else.
Right.
Yeah. But, loneliness or anger breeds company. And when you have places that extol the idea of free speech, then that's where people that are like, I'm going to push that envelope, that's where they go. I didn't write this in here, but based off of the podcast that I had listened to, that the Behind the Bastards, where the host interviewed the founder of 8chan, which I'll cover in a little bit, he had mentioned that 4chan was actually founded off of a splinter group of sorts from an older website called Something Awful. The founder, Moot, didn't like the moderation. He felt it was too restrictive for free speech, and so he was like, I'm going to make my own thing with more free speech. And that was kind of what happened with 8chan, where the founder was like, I don't like 4chan. It's got too much moderation. I'm going to make a better one with more free speech. So, but I'll cover that in a little bit more detail. But that's the whole kind of idea behind this original board where Q Clearance Patriot posted his things. Okay. So Q Clearance Patriot posted in a thread called Calm Before the Storm, a reference to the movie The Calm Before the Storm, a documentary that covers David Bowie's first record, which I thought was interesting.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. I had to give at least one. I had to make it at least a little bit funny, and I was like, there has to be a movie called The Calm Before the Storm, and I searched for like a good 10 minutes. I'm like,
that lie was, that lie was super
a documentary.
Bad. That was a super bad lie, just like in that movie, super bad.
Super bad, yes. Before we get too far afield, I actually wasn't listening to what Michael was saying because I was looking up. If you want to have a place where they actually openly encourage free speech and there's a really wonderful and accepting message board where people will actually get back to you with the opposing viewpoint and actually have a discourse, Daryl Davis, who I have discussed from the Rogan podcast episode where they were having the discussion, the gentleman who got folks to leave the Klan, has started and helps to moderate on a website called minds.com, where they do actually encourage individuals who hold these extreme viewpoints and oftentimes these caustic messages that they impart, and they welcome them to come on there and actually have a conversation and have a post in an open forum with other individuals who can follow you and tit for tat and just exchange ideas without having fear of being castigated or it to erupt into an argument. So while we were on there, I just felt like it was worth mentioning. I just couldn't remember the website.
So he's doing that in a productive way to try and like shine a light that, those aren't really
to actually
open the dialogue. Like, I hate saying respectfully because it's so polarized. Like, I don't respect those viewpoints at all.
Right.
But I see what he's trying to get at, where it's like, let's just have a conversation like humans, and then I'm going to show you or try and actually educate you on why that's incorrect and why, there's some room for improvement. Like a lot.
It's a free exchange of ideas, and actually to have a place where people can have just an open forum and be respectful of one another and have differing opinions even. I don't think that they're necessarily saying, come over here and let us indoctrinate you. They're just saying, if you truly believe this that ardently, and to feel the need to go to another forum and post and try to, raise people to your cause, come speak with us. But at the same time, if you have an open mind, we'll have an open mind, and we'll meet in the middle, and let's just explain to each other why we feel this way. And more often than not, you kind of have a straw man argument in a lot of these situations anyway. Either that or you're completely insane, but oftentimes you can actually reach a reasonable sort of accord with each other after some conversation. So I felt it was worth noting just because we are trying to do this and show both sides. And I'm sorry for derailing us for a second, but I felt it was important because it's one of the few resources I've encountered where it's not just, hey, let's all get over here in our hate tank and share our venom. It's actually saying, please, we're more than happy to play devil's advocacy with you. Let's just have a conversation.
No, I really like that, and I appreciate the addition of it. Please send me the link, and I'll include it in the show notes because I feel like that is something that we should offer. I doubt we'll get any people that are from this that believe in this conspiracy theory, but just in case there's a chance that one person does, I'd rather give them the opportunity to be able to go to a place to do that. Mm-hmm. Because and you're right, most people that they don't truly believe in it, or they just are trying to be incendiary. And so the ones that really do want to challenge other people's beliefs and, are confident in these incendiary beliefs, I think it's a good place to offer so that people can go there and, actually have a debate instead of just being in an echo chamber. Because that's something that the internet has really gravitated towards, especially in the last decade and this decade too, where no matter what political belief you are just going to be, depending on your social media, surrounded by the same people. It's an echo chamber.
Yep.
And so offering these places where people of differing attitudes or beliefs can go and hash things out is absolutely amazing. And it won't change millions of minds, but it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
It just needs to change people's, this guy, every, just a couple people. If that's all that takes, that's all that matters.
It helps to kind of stem the tide of violence as well, because all too often the reason someone gets to a point of having an outburst is because they don't feel they're being listened to. And they feel alienated and isolated. And so allowing someone an open forum and welcoming them to have a conversation will help to subdue that to a certain extent. It's not going to happen all the time, but occasionally, if you can weed one or two out, that's what there's a reason we're having a podcast right now. We are here to talk to each other, and we want to feel like our voices are being heard and thrown out into the ether and being accepted. So someone else gets the same opportunity.
And it's better than nothing. A non-zero chance is significantly better than a 0% chance. So I love that is a thing, and I definitely want to support it and make it a part of the show notes.
Yeah.
So the thing that you had missed while you were looking that up is I said the Q Clearance Patriot posted in a thread titled Calm Before the Storm, a reference to the movie The Calm Before the Storm, a documentary that covers David Bowie's first record, which John correctly called bullshit on. Yes.
Bless you, Mr. J.
Yes. It is actually thought to be a reference to Trump's cryptic statement that he gave earlier that month, so earlier in October 2017. He had called reporters in to take pictures of himself, some military leaders, and their wives before they had dinner. Trump said, quote, "You guys, I'm not going to try and, use his accent because I just suck at accents." So
I like how you say it's an accent because it definitely is an accent.
Yes. All I know is huge instead of huge, and I'm probably getting that one wrong. So
it's a Pennsylvania thing for sure.
Yes. So Trump said, "You guys know what this represents. Maybe it's the calm before the storm. Could be the calm before the storm." He refused to specify what that meant. So he had sent reporters, based on the article that I read, he'd sent reporters away like earlier in the day. And then after they were all, gearing up to leave and everything, then he calls them all back in for this dinner. And then he says that. And he refused to specify what that meant.
I was going to say, I'm going to throw out one of my favorite quotes from the film Seven as Brad Pitt turns to Morgan Freeman and says, "Could the freak be any more vague?"
Yeah. So in this thread, the thread, The Calm Before the Storm, Q was tasked with posting intel drops, which he called crumbs, because, got to make it sound like a movie, straight to 4chan in order to covertly inform the public about, and I use this term because I heard it from a friend, our God Emperor Baby Hands' master plan to stage a counter coup.
Drink.
I got so excited by God Emperor Baby Hands because I call them at work.
I would love to see a band named God Emperor Baby Hands.
That would be a good band name,
It could be any band. Like it could be like an on-the-nose indie band. It could be a metal band, a hip-hop collective.
I was actually thinking of calling our next album that, so we'll take it under advisement.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, put that in the notes. Yeah.
Oh, no, we could send it to Heavy Breathing.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, there we go. So to covertly inform the public about our God Emperor Baby Hands' master plan to stage a counter coup against members of the deep state. Now, how did he manage to convince people that he was the real deal? It was thanks to a couple of coincidences. So the first one, Q kind of guessed that Trump would tweet the word small on Small Business Saturday, and that Q appeared to be on Air Force One by posting blurry pictures of a couple of islands. At the same time, Trump would have been flying past similar-looking islands, but only if his flight path didn't follow a straight line, like going probably several hundred miles out of his way.
So, did he also... Because he also should have predicted then, the same tune, that if the stoplight was red, Trump's motorcade would come to a stop. Until, and hear me out here, Michael. So when you see a red stoplight, would you rather that the car keeps going through the stoplight, or would you rather that they stop at the stoplight while the red light is still there? Because we're in a society, Michael. We're in a society. We stop at green, we go faster at yellow, and we go on green. Anyway, was the typing S or saying something with S on Small Business Saturday, is that bullshit?
No.
Oh. Sorry, Shane. You look like you hate me right now.
No.
He predicted that Trump would tweet the word small on Small Business Saturday. Yes.
I was going to say, no, I think Shapiro's actually more upset with stoplights because it's something that changes, and it's not just inherently one thing. You don't get the opportunity to do that. I mean, it'd be a fucking stop sign. Then you're at least certain about something. You just say, look, I want you to stop right now. It's not like, oh, maybe you should stop. Maybe you should slow down. Maybe you should go. I don't know. Make up your fucking mind. Make a decision for once, you fucking losers.
Yeah, Al Gore.
I don't believe in fucking traffic lights.
Little waffly, flip-flopping piece of shit.
Anyway, Joe, thanks for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate getting the chance to chat with you.
Anyway, here's the definition of kosher.
Okay. So real quick, because since you're both, listen to Rogan,
partially
Anyway, did you know that he has come out to say that he would moderate a debate between Trump and Biden?
Rogan? Yeah, I heard that.
He is not very reassured by Biden at all. He is one of the individuals who frequently points out that he seems to be kind of running off the rails occasionally, though he does seem to be improving now as he's kind of hitting his stride. So he's not talking about some sort of transgendered individual named Whip Wop that he used to trade cheese with back in the 50s.
Excuse me?
I feel like this is a story, but I'm too lazy to look it up.
Let's just leave that alone and move on.
Anyway, so now is where I explain something that I didn't recall nor do due diligence to research last week, and involves what are called trip codes.
I thought it involved what you do for a living. I didn't do any research, and I didn't prepare at all. I just showed up and expected to wing it.
That's me.
Actually, that's my TA position. That's my actual research for my degree position. Yeah.
Preparation's not necessary at all. You're absolutely correct.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Well done.
So this should have been included in last week's episode, where I mentioned that 4chan and similar websites allow people to post anonymously. Right. However, I never addressed what happens when a user needs to post multiple times. How can they prove that they are the same poster? Trip codes are a sort of password-protected digital signature and allow multiple posts to be tied to a single poster without having to use an account. So it's essentially like an intermediary between complete anonymity and actually having an account. So you can see, this trip code, because you need to input the correct password in order to get the correct code, right? So they know, this is the same person that posted.
It's essentially like throwing in tags or keywords that you're going to have to make it and where you're able to find the person again, or the topic again, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so they know that, this person is, it's literally like a digital signature, right? So he was able to make his statements, talking about the calm before the storm and everything, and then he was able to use this trip code to prove these other things using these pictures and saying that Trump will say small on Small Business Saturday, right? That's
I don't want to, log jam here, but the, blurry photos from Air Force One sounds like bullshit to me. It's very likely not, but I just had to mention.
Isn't.
Okay. God.
The temptation to add a lie in there was strong, but I fought it. Those were the two main ones that the article that I'd read about it pointed towards. And I can show you pictures afterwards. No, you're fine.
It's just such a convoluted exchange where it's like, okay, well, if he's not heading in a straight line, and if he was heading north by northwest, which is not a reference to the movie. Anywho, move on.
Yeah, no, he makes like a big sweeping curve as opposed to flying straight. Then he would have seen islands that might have looked like the ones that Q posted.
All right.
But why he would have taken a straight curve around in Air Force One is beyond me. So, yeah. All right. So now that Q had an audience by air quotes proving that he was connected to in some way to Trump, he started talking a lot. According to Q in 2017, Trump was never involved with Russia. Nor was he under investigation by Mueller, which was a big deal back then, right? Nope, it was actually Clinton and Obama who were corrupted by Putin. Trump, even before he was elected, figured all this out and has been pretending to be butt buddies with Putin and/or involved with Russia ever since as a way to force a third party, Mueller, to investigate these horrors.
Mr. Peepers, thank you.
Yes. The horrors, the aforementioned sexually killing, exploiting children. That sort
I like that you said horrors as it sounded like horrors, and then we talked about sexually molesting and killing.
I always have trouble saying that word. Trust me, it's not now. It's every time I say that word, it just sounds like I'm saying horrors instead of the word. So, and actually, according to the article, because we mentioned that they were Satanists, by the time that article was written, that I got my information from for that paragraph, it was written in December 2017, the jury was still out if they were actually Satanists or if it was just some part of weird blackmail scheme involving the CIA.
All right, then.
So like I said, QAnon's
Wait, say that
conspiracy.
again?
So, according to the article, which was written into 2017 in December, the jury was still out, so they hadn't determined if Clinton and Obama and all these the cabal were actually Satanists, or if they were actually just some part of some weird blackmail scheme involving the CIA.
What the fuck?
Yes. So, Q also, because around this time we had the Las Vegas massacre that occurred, which I won't go into too much detail. Right. If you're interested, you can look it up, etc. But Q also wrote that the Las Vegas massacre was most definitely an inside job connected to the Saudi and Clinton cabal. Now, I included this part mostly because, according to the Woodward tapes that came out a couple weeks ago as of this recording, Trump is good friends with the Saudis, even going so far as to protect the Saudi crown prince from Congress after the assassination of the U.S. journalist 2 years ago in October, and also to bypass Congress approval to sell $8 billion in arms to the Saudis. So that was just something that I thought was interesting, that QAnon at this time decided to lump in the Saudis with the Clintons for the cabal.
As like the United States has actually just had a relationship with Saudi Arabia for a very long time. That's been late 80s going into now. So
yeah,
everybody's been in bed with them for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. We're helping to fund their military excursions and stuff into Yemen. So that's great.
Hey, we like oil. We need to hold on to it.
There's a reason why there's a meme anytime someone mentions oil, even if it's olive oil, and America just appears. So it's actually one of my favorite kind of memes.
Ever since, by the way...
Did someone mention extra virgin olive oil? America theme plays.
I feel like there's this weird thing where you do see things ahead of time, or you mention memes, and then maybe it's just because of, your phone's always listening to you. I just get inundated with that meme. But ever since you did the, it's been 7 years since January bit, or inform me of that, I've seen multiple people on my Twitter feed make that same joke like it was the first time it was ever said. So
beautiful.
Life finds a way.
Thank you.
We're having
I like that.
Chilean sea bass, I believe.
Okay, so this is going to be fun because I want to do this. Let me read you one of the crumbs Q posted on November 1st, 2017.
I don't have enough to get home, Michael, so...
Okay.
Do I need another beer?
My fellow Americans. Maybe.
Okay.
My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we are taking back our great country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refuge of shining light. On POTUS's order, we have initiated certain failsafes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur 11/3, that's November 3rd, 2017, upon the rest announcement of Mr. Podesta, which I mentioned last week was Clinton's manager from the campaign, actionable the 4th of November. Confirmation to the public of what is occurring will then be revealed and will not be openly accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On POTUS's order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. Rest assured, the safety and well-being of every man, woman, and child of this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided, as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We'll be initiating the emergency broadcast system during this time in an effort to provide a direct message, avoiding the fake news, to all citizens. Organizations and or people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad. POTUS will be well insulated. Yeah, it says insulated. POTUS will be well insulated / protected on AF1 and abroad, specific locations classified. While these operations are conducted due to the nature of the entrenchment, it is time to take back our country and make America great again. Let us salute and pray for the brave men and women in uniform who will undertake this assignment to bring forth peace, unity, and return power to the people. It is our hope that this message reaches enough people to make a meaningful impact. We cannot yet telegraph this message through normal methods for reasons I'm sure everyone here can understand. Follow the questions from the previous threads and remain calm. The primary targets are within DC and remain at the top on both sides. The spill over in the street will be quickly shut down. Look for more false flags. Stay alert, be vigilant, and above all, please pray.
Can someone get this guy fucking Paxil so he'll shut the fuck up?
Almost done. Just one more, just a biblical quote. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have...
Perish.
Fuck. Shall not perish, but have eternal life. Love is patient, love is kind.
Oh, fuck
God
that quote
bless
to
thy
death.
Fellow Americans.
Also, don't forget to live, laugh, and love, and kick yourself off a cliff, you silly piece of shit.
I'm suddenly envisioning this gentleman rickrolling people out in the street and chasing them and telling them to, fuck themselves and walk away.
There are a couple things that I am never going to do. I am never going to give you up. Never going to let you down. I'm never going to turn around and desert you.
I'm never going to make you cry. I'm never going to say goodbye.
Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you.
That is the most ludicrous bunch of nonsense that I have heard in the course of my many years on this planet, and that encompasses a lot.
I kind of tuned half of that out. It just, there are certain words in there that I think just immediately hit the button in my brain that just make me go from, aware and alert to just...
Well, Nostradamus there seemed to have hit the nail right on the head on a bunch of really wonderful, vague things.
Right.
And naturally, there was a rampant fallout around November 3rd of that year, right? That we can absolutely trace, that we're going to see.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the rioting on the streets, the cabal finally being taken over. The military for the last 3 years has been, pretty good. I haven't been repressed too bad, so...
And may I also mention that Scrotus is still very safe aboard AF1.
Scrotus.
But it kind of sounds like the speech toward the climax of the second act of a movie, right?
Yes.
It's supposed to be like the unifying speech that's given right before they start the, falling action, right before the third act, right? That's what I thought when I read it. I was I honestly,
yeah.
It brought to mind the president... from Independence Day.
That was exactly what I was about to say. It was the Independence Day speech nobody wanted. That's the one that we were hoping would drive everybody back out into the streets to let the aliens kill us.
If you're a preacher,
we're better off.
If you're a Preacher fan, it would be like if Humperdew did the monologue instead of whoever played the president in that movie.
He was a good actor. I can't remember what the actor's name
Shane,
was. But
can I call a lifeline here? On Who Wants to Be
I don't even remember the president's name. Was it Ashmore?
Anyway, so you're saying about
what
stupid
are you asking
pieces
me?
of shit. The actor who plays the president in Independence Day.
Oh,
can you clip that for me? Because I'm going to replay that forever. Whenever I'm masturbating, I want to hear that sound.
I'm smelling with my tongue. It's what I changed for my synesthesia.
I cut my taste so I can smell with my tongue.
Yes, indeed. Give me about, go on. It'll occur to me here in a moment.
He's just just yell it out when you get it. Literally, interrupt.
I will. I'll just scream. Yep, it's gonna happen.
I'm used to the interruptions, so it'll give more context. And anyway, so since this event clearly didn't happen, obviously, you think this would have led followers to leave in droves, right? It sounded like it was a very big, done deal was going to happen, right? Well, it did, and that's why Q had to move to 8chan to get a fresh start. And so now we're going to go on to talking about 8chan. So first, I'm going to apologize to the listeners and my co-hosts. I mispronounced 8kun from the last episode.
You did. You silly piece of shit.
It's with a soft U, not a hard U.
Hey, so
So it doesn't sound like a raccoon.
I just really wish that in this podcast that there were other people involved.
Bill Pullman!
Other people involved. They're like, hey, I'm pretty sure you're mispronouncing that. You could probably just censor it. And
No, he also defended himself as saying that this is he had it on good authority. That's how it was pronounced. It was Bill Pullman, by the way, in case you didn't hear my scream.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did say it. That was my scream.
Okay,
Michael, I accept your apology.
He's a great actor.
However, I will say that I don't expect the public to. So, while you may have my affection again, you will never have my love.
I don't get anyone's love. It's just how I am.
Well,
I live with it every day.
John's also never going to give it up.
I'm never going to say goodbye.
But at least by not giving me the love, I never feel like he will let me down. He's already set the lowest standard for me. So he's also never going to turn around and desert me because he knows that I will apologize for that.
Yeah, we're no strangers to love, Michael. Yeah. So continue, please.
Yeah,
I just have one question.
The rules are pretty well known so that you know them and that I know them.
Who's going to drive you home?
So I'm just going to give a very brief history of 8chan because I feel that it is important for the context.
Indeed.
All right. And also because I literally had finished the Behind the Bastards episode on the reopening of 8chan because this happened in December of 2019 that episode had come out. So I got a little excited that I got to, connect to something I like and listen to. Anyway, so its founder, Frederick Brennan, created the website after observing what he perceived to be rapidly escalating surveillance and a loss of free speech on the internet, especially 4chan. It had one rule. Do not post, request, or link to any content illegal in the United States of America. Do not create boards with the sole purpose of posting or spreading such content.
That sounds like several rules to me.
Yeah, it sounds like more than one.
That's what Wikipedia said. That was one
kidding.
Rule, but
I know.
The founder claimed that while he found some of the content posted by the users to be reprehensible, he felt personally obligated to uphold the site's integrity by tolerating discussion that he does not necessarily support regardless of his moral stance. Though he eventually became disillusioned enough with what 8chan was changing into that he resigned in 2016, turning the site over to its now current owner and probable Q person, Jim Watkins, and his son, Ron.
I don't know these people. They're not related to me. I don't claim them. And also, you can fuck yourself.
I did think it was a bit funny when I read that that was his name. Yeah. So
that's
and I don't blame
isn't it?
Frederick.
It's a lie. God,
it isn't.
We built this on a lie.
I
wanted
blame
it to be untrue.
Oh, I for your sake, I wish it was, but unfortunately, not.
All right.
I don't blame Frederick for doing that, for resigning and giving control of the website up.
He had the Oppenheimer moment. It's okay. We all do.
In 2015, multiple people had filed reports to the site's domain registrar, the company that registers the website address. So the one that says, this is your website address, you type that in, it will get you to this website, right? Filed reports to this registrar that the message board had hosted child pornography. Yes. In addition to, reference to last week, cheese pizza, the site had also been subject to a growing number of white supremacists, neo-Nazis, the alt-right, racists, Antifa, anti-Semites, I can't do that.
Antifa's bullshit.
Antifa's bullshit. Yeah, that is so disparate to the other things on that list. Like,
I couldn't help it. I know that you both would have caught it. Like I said, I had to. I mean, you missed the other lie.
So we're 2 for 3.
But you got 2 of the 3. I had to be a little bit easier with it because like so much of this was already. I figured you'd get really trigger happy with it, which you have, which is
as I said with the Phoenix Jones thing, same thing. Is sometimes as absurd as the topic is, it's almost impossible to keep giving out things that aren't painfully self-evident when you're lying.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But you name it, it was probably there. It probably had a presence if you think back to those other actual ones.
Anti-Semite or anti-Semitic, depending upon how you want it. I didn't know if you needed the assist for that, but
it was more anti-Semite, so not necessarily anti-Semitic.
Semite.
Oh, all right.
Semite.
So
I mean, if they're anti-Semites, they're not swallowing.
Shit. That derailed me. So to explain the
Usually
lie,
does.
because I know you both caught it immediately, but I still feel like I need to because I always write this. Antifa is short for anti-fascist and is outright against half of the groups I listed and tangentially against the other half of those groups. Also, kind of as an aside that I wanted to mention, and I might do an episode on it if people are really interested in the covering of these like alt-right conspiracy things. 8chan also became entangled with Gamergate, if you guys remember that from 2014. If you don't, that's fine. Especially after 4chan started banning topics about it. So if you don't know about it, and maybe one or two people ask me to do it, then I might do an episode on Gamergate later in the future.
Please. I was going to say the reason that it stuck out to me as a lie is because I've heard many speeches by the vocal leader of their group, Queen Antifa, and she's got some very compelling arguments against fascist regimes and. Sorry, I'm trying to keep a straight face and I can't speak.
You almost got there. You were almost there.
I had a moment.
You got like 99% of the way there. I tried. So, yeah, respect. So in 2018, Q moved their posts to 8chan, increasing traffic there substantially. With less moderation than 4chan, the whole idea behind creating 8chan in the first place, the place quickly became a worse hive of scum and villainy than 4chan.
Well played.
I see your reference.
Yes. I had to at least do that one. Q then had a place to spout whatever new bullshit they wanted and would have been doing so continually up to today. Were not for a couple of people who decided to take their hatred of others a step further. I'm talking about the perpetrators of the Christchurch mosque shootings, the Poway synagogue shooting, and the El Paso shooting of 2019. Before each shooting, the shooter posted their manifesto on 8chan.
God damn.
I won't, and I want to make this statement because it's actually an important statement that I very much believe in. I won't include names, mostly because they didn't on the Wikipedia page, but I won't include names because I believe doing so turns them into celebrities and gives others a way to become famous by trying to beat the previous shooter's high score.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I say that
to death.
Yeah, that is...
I say that because on the thread where the Poway shooter posted their manifesto, other posters told the person to get the high score and beat the Christchurch shooter's high score.
So
I hate this country.
I was going to say, the most abhorrent of human beings and the poster children for man's inhumanity to man lurk in 4chan and then 8chan. And now 8chan.
Yes. I will also say, just because of your statement, John, that Christchurch is actually in New Zealand. Poway is in California, if I recall correctly. And then, El Paso is in Texas. Just for people that aren't aware of that.
And
I will take...
go ahead.
No, I will take geography for 500, please.
And I was going to crib back to Shane from last week or a couple weeks ago saying, well, if you hate this so much, John, why don't you leave and go somewhere else? And it's because you've made it literally fucking impossible. So thank you for that, you fucks.
If anyone really wants to see where our future is going to be moving toward, there's a really phenomenal comic book series that is called DMZ. It is where America actually goes to war with itself, and there is just a demilitarized zone essentially between New York and New Jersey that is the only separation between like the liberated states of America and then where the governmental hive is in sort of the Northeast. And it is a journalist who gets dropped into the DMZ to report about the leaders of the movements
Color me intrigued.
outside. Really phenomenal series. But the more that I hear any of the reports and see sort of like these weird political tides that are undulating these days, I'm like, oh, cool, it's DMZ again. I'm really looking forward to this.
So I actually have a connection back to the podcast that I'd mentioned. So the host of Behind the Bastards, Robert Evans, also has another podcast called It Could Happen Here, which details a possible American Civil War that could happen in the near future.
Are they paying you?
Yeah,
No,
are you getting some sort of a
listened to that-
stipend? Because I mean, it's like we've got a quota of the number of times you're going to allude to Behind the Bastards on this episode.
I listen to that podcast when I'm working at my pizza job, and all it does is it just gets me pissed off, and I can't do anything about it because I don't yell at customers, and I have no authority to yell at employees. Well, I just don't want to, except for the Trump supporting driver. I actually started yelling at on Monday because he started talking about Floyd having 3 times the lethal amount of drugs in his system.
Like, out of here.
Oh, cool. But he still was suffocated for 9 minutes, so I don't care what he was on. He could have been stoned out of his fucking mind.
Also,
he was still
to kind
strangulated.
of curb off that, Michael. So while you're listening to your podcast at work, did you ever wish that it was easy and convenient to pause your show mostly like wirelessly and hand-free, just maybe a click of the button? Might I recommend to you the Samsung Galaxy Buds? They come in 3 to 4 convenient colors.
I can't hear you. I've got my Beats by Dre on my head right now, and it's noise canceling, so I'm not able to hear any number of things, including loudmouth assholes.
Yeah, what is this Samsung
I'm sorry,
stuff?
what did you say, Michael?
The great stuff is the great stuff. Oh, well, noise canceling. I'm nothing but noise. Ha 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 ha.
No.
I was gonna make a joke about Raycon because a lot of my YouTube channels that I watch are sponsored by Raycon.
I do actually own some Raycons. They're great. They're fantastic.
Anyway, so now that we're done with our sponsored ad break.
Now, I just to unring this bell for a second and try to get us back to where we used to be. John, why does he say pizza job when there is no pizza job?
I don't get the reference.
I didn't expect you. It's
John doesn't get a reference?
It's not actually a quote. I've amended it to suit my own needs, but it would be, why does it say paper jam when there is no paper jam?
Oh, Office Space?
I need to see that movie.
All right, moving on.
Have you seen Michael's Cheese Pizza?
No, I don't want to see Michael's Cheese Pizza. She was dancing around earlier in his office, and it's just
really disturbing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
Exactly, Michael. You should be ashamed.
Anyway, the service providers for 8chan dropped 8chan in response to the El Paso shooting, meaning the website was essentially shut down. This created a break in Q's posts, since there wasn't a way for them to prove they were actually Q, which kind of, put a thorn in, that side for a while. Right. Although it wasn't hosted anywhere, and I'm mentioning this because John asked last week, users were able to access the website through the dark web or the deep web for a time, using fancy technology such as Tor, which I won't cover because I don't know anything
It's just a browser,
that.
Man.
Bruh. Anyway, however, on October 7th, 2019, 8chan's official Twitter account released a video that unveiled the new 8kun logo, which is the picture that I sent you guys last night.
Yeah, I don't look at things you send me.
That's fair. In it, a snake resembling the Gadsden flag, the Don't Tread on Me one, forms the shape of a number 8 on the logo. And then it said for me to show a picture of it, but I skipped that step and showed it to you guys last night. Then. Yes. So I will end this topic with an ironic twist.
What a twist!
Yes. So remember the
5th of November
when I
mean, we're talking about anonymous here. It's appropriate.
This is actually quite funny because I have this written down, and no, this isn't bullshit. But remember when I mentioned about the Russian investigation, Mueller report and everything, Clinton and, cabal, whatever. So on November 5th, 2019, not bullshit, it's written down here, 8kun came online by using a fake or bogus IP through Media Land LLC. Now, Media Land LLC is owned by the Russian Alexander Yalishanda Volosovic.
Bless you.
Who has been described as the world's biggest bulletproof hosting operator and is known for enabling cybercriminal activity. As of March 2020, which was the last part of the Wikipedia article, 8kun was still using a Russian hosting provider. So that is pretty ironic, considering they're like, oh, Trump wasn't working with Russia at all. No. It was actually Clinton and Obama, right? So, yeah.
Now, damn.
I have only tangentially heard this discussed, but was not there some sort of idea at one point that either a Q or a Q-ish character is someone who is claiming that he came back from the future and he has seen the future that's manifested, and it is because of him being a time traveler that he knows Donald Trump is the savior of our country? Have you encountered this previously, or am I making this up?
I have heard of it.
Okay.
But I did not see any of that when I did this current research. I did hear about that. That could be like a fringe, like separate break off splinter
It
group.
Also might be someone who thought they were being clever and just referencing a South Park episode and then decided to get cute out of it. But yeah, I had heard that. It was my only correlation I had to the QAnon thing previously, was I thought it was this person who claimed that they were an emissary from a future time. And so that's how they're able to provide all this info, is that they know how things will unveil.
Yeah, no, I unfortunately I did not encounter it with respect to this.
Fortunately.
But I have heard of it, though. So, yes, that does seem reasonable, because I have read like a year ago or something like that there was an idea that someone from the future was like, yes, Trump will save us all. So it was probably one of those offshoots where they were like, yes, this is a second Q, or maybe a P, or maybe a U, or an S, or a T, or an R.
I'd like to buy a vowel, please.
It's definitely an R in some way. Yeah.
Or capital OOF.
Oh, Mr. Pat Sajak, it's such a wonderful pleasure to be here, I must say.
All right, so since we, Shane and I are both golden gods, and we basically just deflated all of your lies, say one.
Except
I was going to say, do you care to educate us on the one that we missed? Probably because you were just talking too fast.
So, no, you were giving people too much credit. So remember when I gave that speech?
Yeah, I try to forget.
And I said, since this clearly didn't happen, you'd think this would have led followers to leave in droves, right? And then I said, well, it did, and that's why Q had to move to 8chan to get a fresh start.
That is not why they moved. Yes. As you unveiled later on in your presentation.
Yeah.
I think you managed to just lull us into a drooling sleep with that drony speech. So you could have told us that our mothers were hot air balloons after that, and we probably would have just missed it.
After you're done.
Well, they both contribute to 8chan's, Q discussion boards. Did you not know that?
Q?
Ooh, this is awkward. So, nope, if anything, this speech and the fact that it failed brought more followers into the fold. It's easy to make predictions like that, since Q can rationalize that the plan was compromised and that it had to be pushed back.
Or because they unveiled it, then, people adjusted according to, the information getting leaked.
And one of their posts that they made, in response when it turned out to not be real, they claimed disinformation is real and disinformation is necessary.
I know,
and I wanted to
that
include
you're
that
saying
specifically.
it as the singular word disinformation, like disinformed, but you kind of were saying it like disinformation, though, will educate you.
Oh.
Disinformation?
Fair enough.
Disinformation, it not whack.
That's fair. I put too much emphasis on disinformation, so that's yeah. No, I got you.
Because disinformation you speak is real. In slang all the time ever since I've known you.
Yeah, dog. Q did move their post to 8chan, but only because the 4chan board where they had posted had been, quote, infiltrated. So,
well, speaking of people who made predictions, did either of you gentlemen delve at all into the gentleman who reported the New Jersey portal into another reality? Did
No.
anybody?
no, I did not.
Oh, okay. Well, that gentleman, Sargell18, who is the one who discovered the vortex in New Jersey and Wanacue, New York, he also makes like slews of predictions, and it is a constant. So he had been referenced in a podcast I listened to. Tell 'em Steve Dave. They had their own sort of odd tangential thing they did where they had him on as a guest to talk about the vortex. And that he's encountered Satan and all sorts of other odd entities.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man, I want to meet my hero.
You really ought to go in and just delve onto a couple of the videos, because he has moved what used to be his horrible Flash website over to a series of exorbitantly long videos on YouTube where he explains and shows his photographs. But this man is not quite getting his communiques from the mothership clearly anymore. But he does claim he has alien DNA, and that is one of the reasons that he is able to find the vortex. So I really couldn't find anything substantively enough to pull from other than listening to his videos, which I don't have the mental wherewithal to withstand presently to actually do it as a topic. But I'll put a link in the show notes here for those that want to delve into it. Man alive, it is ridiculous, and it almost as outlandish as the things that we've been talking about today. But he makes a lot of random predictions about claiming that we're nearing apocalypses, and he basically sort of like spins it the same way of like, oh well, someone found out about it in the reptilian elite and they've changed it, so now they've moved it forward in time.
I actually had a little passage that I since erased that referenced like doomsday preachers.
Ah, yes.
Like I think Harold Camping. One of the bigger guys that predicted the end of the world like multiple times, but one of them was during 2012, and it created such a panic that there were people that were selling everything they had and pulling massive credit card debt just to like get vans and everything that like extolled that to people. And there was a particular, when I'm editing this, I'll add this to the show notes, because there was a beautiful YouTube video that talks about it, and they actually have a clip where they interviewed a person that believed in it. That was at New York Times Square, and was being interviewed right before the whole thing was supposed to happen. And he was surrounded by a bunch of people, and he had a reporter and everything, and the time passed, and the guy was sitting there. And he checked his watch, and he looked really awkward, and he's like, I sold everything for this.
I feel like...
And he was, right before it, he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be going. I got everything. I'm set. I sold everything. I have nothing to my name now. I donated everything to Harold Camping. This is great. And then it happens, and he just walks away. And it is one of the most awkward videos I've ever watched.
I feel like that should be the top post of all time on r/watch people die inside.
Oh,
it most certainly should be.
Oh, yes. There, I got my the Outlook cancellation for the apocalypse. God's rescheduled. We'll see in a few years.
The next day, Harold Camping had said he did some math wrong, and he consulted the Bible. I
fucked the whole thing up. Just dump it. Yeah. Dump the whole thing. I'm gonna keep the money though, because you're idiots. But I'm gonna keep the money.
Oh yeah.
But have fun living in dirt. Well.
Oh, I might do an episode on that too, because like that whole thing was just absolutely just awkward.
It's been fun to give you a little two-parter to take, just to fill some time and give us some silly nonsense.
Yeah. So we can explain why. I stole the spotlight for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
By all means,
I'm very excited. Because we are going to crest into October, and we're just gonna do, we're gonna do spoopy stuff for the whole season.
It's gonna be super scurry.
Spoopy.
And you guys were kind enough to let me kick it off. So next week we are going to be talking about the elevator game, which terrified me when I saw it, but it's a neat little urban legend. Yeah, I actually prepped, and I sent you guys proof while I was doing it. I wrote this a couple weeks ago, and I just finished it yesterday, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully it'll get you all in the holiday spirit of just being scared.
And to follow up the subsequent week, I will be throwing another very bizarre internet phenomenon / urban legend, and we are going to discuss Dear David. And it will be the first presentation where I will be providing all of you with photographic evidence as we go along. So I've already created a secondary document that you can pull up and look along so that you actually have the photos that were posted, and you can follow along with me and see what is being offered into evidence to show you Dear David and his exploits. So we are super prepared for this.
Yeah.
I'm glad. No, I'm really glad, because it will be both Shane and John that will be presenting for the month of October. So they pretty much let me finish this sort of like small arc, giving them more time to prepare. And it looks like it definitely paid off, because both of those sound like fantastic episodes, not to jerk ourselves off. But that is why I presented 2 weeks in a row, to give them more time to prepare for
And
Spooktober.
plus, you also had there we go, being racist again.
What? Oh, come on. Get out of here.
Censored. But it also, gave you an opportunity to delve into this topic, because there was a plethora of material for you to sort through. And so it is appreciated on all ends. So kids, prepare to be scared. That's what we're saying. It's it. Red Ram. Also, speaking of which, do we want to actually attempt to do that watch along of The Shining as we get to the end of October here?
I think so. I mean, we can talk about this right now. We don't have to make a decision on air, but I would say I'd be game to either do a watch along as the final, like, to tie it off, or just have our Stephen King episode where we talk about all things Stephen King for an hour and some change, just because he is the king of horror, so to speak. So.
Indeed. And we also do have my secondary topic, since we're just going to lay the whole bloody thing out, is I think I should be able to find enough material on Deathbed, the bed that eats. And that should help to close everything out for us.
Yeah. I think
it sounds so bad, but I love it.
Yeah, it's abysmal, my friend. This is going to be Blood Circus Part 2, basically.
I love it.
What we're headed for.
Boy.
Well, cool. I'm really excited.
I have the most appropriate boner.
I usually don't go down the rabbit hole of October, but I'm feeling in the spirit of the season as we approach, and I'm really looking forward to it. Also, get ready, and thank you for tuning in. If you are tuning in, if you're not tuning in, you're not going to hear this, and in which case you're owed money. I owe you money, but you're never going to know that I owe you money because you haven't tuned in.
What the fuck? You heard it from him, or not, I guess.
No,
if you
they're never
going to
hear it from me.
So.
Well,
I guess I'll just take the sweet, sweet $10 bill back to the bank.
So, since John didn't insist this week, and also since my posit proved to be true, that we got no further interaction on any of our social network.
Hold on, our Twitter poll is going super strong relative to usual.
Also because we have shared it multiple ways in multiple milieus, so I don't think that can be correlated to the fact that we've plugged it earlier in the show, nay, plugged it at all here on the podcast. Fair. But since we're gluttons for punishment, in case you want to find us on your preferred social networks, you can find us on Facebook.com/disinformedpodcast, on Instagram @Disinformed Podcast, and on the Twitters, where you can find that poll. It will still be up for another couple days here. Actually, technically, it won't by the time we get to this episode airing. It's going to be live. So at this point, to give a brief update for those who haven't been paying attention, it looks like Prayer and Miracles is about to manifest itself as the next thing we're reading.
It does indeedy.
So who knows? And then finally, on that Twitters, we're @DisinformedPod. That is our glorious handle that you can track us down. And please, flash back in time and vote. If you have a time turner, get on back here, and you can join us at the School of Prayer and Miracles.
I'm not okay.
Indeed, I promise. Well, gentlemen, I think that is going to wrap this thing. Gentlefin, yes. The Janglefins. Cranglefins.
Ooh, yeah.
I think
Krangle
this
thumbs.
is going to, give our episode the tasty seal into the crunch wrap supreme of enmity and disdain that is the Disinformed podcast. We sincerely thank you for being here, and I want to remind you all before we leave that Pigeon is small and blue. But for the Disinformed podcast, I'm Shane.
I'm John.
Birds aren't real, and I'm Michael.
So long and good night.
So long and good night.
And good nut.